Hey, how's it going? This is Taurai Jack, known as TJ. I am going to give you, in this short video, I am going to give you what I call the 7 things you need to know before you buy your first investment property. So 7 things that you need to know. Well, I wish I actually knew all of these when I started off, but they have all come in as and when I've been journeying on my journey. And today, I'm going to share with you some of those secrets. Okay. Let's start on the top. Number 1, you need to be comfortable in the area that you are investing. All right. What does that basically mean? It basically means that a lot of us, we are buying whatever property that we're buying because it's an investment, isn't it? So which means that we're not going to be staying in that particular area. And for that reason, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to know everything about that area, but simple things should prevail. Simple things. Once an estate agent, or whichever way you're going to find your property, I recommend that when you go and see the actual property, is it a place where you can literally get there, park your car, walk around? Yes, I did say walk around, and you are feeling safe. And when you are feeling safe, is it an area where you can actually bring in your kids and you walk around? Okay, it is an investment area. Yes, you're not going to be staying there, but are you comfortable with the area? When you're driving around, are you able to actually stop, see? Are you able to get out of your car? Are you comfortable with the surroundings? Are you comfortable with what is happening in the area? Do you have a gut feel? Yeah. Do you have a gut feel like this is a good area? Right. In all the properties that we've been investing in, I promise you, I am able to walk in there. I am able to buy food in there. I am able to just be myself because I am comfortable within that area. That is the first tip. Be comfortable in the area that you are investing in because you need to know it, because it is your investment that is in there. Do you just put a pot of gold in an area where you actually don't know? It's your investment, by the way. It is a pot of gold. And your pot of gold, you want it to grow over a long period of time. Tip number 2, or should I say, the second thing that you need to know before buying your investment property is, do you know how to run numbers? Do you know how to run numbers? If you don't know how to run numbers, in our school M5 experience, we teach how to run numbers. But this is the basic fundamental of an investment. It is an investment. When I remember when I bought my first house that I live in, and in this particular house, it's not a numbers thing because I am living there. But in a property where I am doing an investment, I want to be able to put in some money. And when I put in some money, I want to be able to get some money out of it, right? So that's what it basically means. Running numbers is the fundamental of actually any investment. Running numbers, right? What do we mean by running numbers? Basic, simple arithmetics tells us that if you've got, right? If you're putting money down for something, and you need to be making profit out of it. So if you're putting 100,000 Rand, are you going to be getting a return over and above the 100,000? So which basically means that your 100,000 is beginning to work for you. A lot of us, we actually don't know how to run these numbers, and this is the fundamentals of any deal. Whether you are doing any other form of business outside property, but here we talk about property, and this is the reason why I talk about running numbers. Okay, what do we mean by running numbers? Okay, you've got buying costs. What are the buying costs? What is included in the buying cost? Do you actually know? What are some of the other costs that could be associated in maintaining the actual property? Have you factored that in? What is the main income that is going to come out of it, and where is it going to come from? Will those tenants be able to actually pay for that? So that's the whole thing about running these numbers. You might need to put some assumption, but some of your assumptions needs not to be assumptions. They needs to be facts, right? You need to be looking at what is happening in the area. You need to be looking at historical data in the area. It doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to buy some of these reports, and that will factor into your running of numbers. So that's about tip number 3. Fact number 3, some of the things, 7 of the 7 things that you need to know before you actually buy an investment property. So number 3, we're going on to number 4. Yeah, number 4. Is your property manager happy with this? Oh, we buy the property and then we start looking for an estate manager to look for what we traditionally call as tenants, right? But have we ever actually just, before we buy a property, have we actually had a conversation with your estate manager or whatever property manager that you're going to contract to manage your property, if you're not managing it yourself, to say, hey, are you comfortable with my property? Well, for me, I do not buy a property if my property manager is not comfortable with that particular property, right? I know it rhymes. I will not buy a property if my property manager is not comfortable with that property. Yes. What does that mean? If you're buying an investment and then your partner, your property manager is your partner, bearing in mind with that, you might hire and fire them as they come, but the reality is that you want to have a property manager that you understand how they work, and they understand you as well. So if you're buying an investment and they are not comfortable with that particular area, who then is going to manage your property? Point number 5. Point number 5, is the bank happy with that particular area? All right. What does that basically mean? It basically means that if you are buying an investment, right, it is an investment. It is always far much cheaper to use other people's money than your money. Whether you're going to buy this property cash yourself for the first time around, or whether you're going to go to the banks. If you're going to go to the banks and the banks are not happy with that area, then it's an indication why they are not happy with that area. It should be an alarm for you, because then potentially the management part of it could be a little bit difficult. But that's not always the case. Sometimes in some areas, you might just be able to buy the property cash and then bring in the banks a little bit later. So the problem is actually not about the area, it is about the actual property. So look at the property in various ways. How best is the bank going to be happy with my property? So sometimes you bring in the bank at a particular property and then the bank walks away and say they are not happy. The question that you should be asking to the bank is, why are you not happy? If you can address those things for that particular property, it basically means that they are comfortable with the area, but they are not comfortable with your property. So your job is to turn around that property so that the bank is able to see some value. All right. So for me, all of the properties that we buy, we make sure that the bank is comfortable with that area. Not all banks are comfortable with all areas. So if bank number 1 is not comfortable with area B, I am going to go to bank number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, until I find the one bank that is good to work with me with property X. But in some cases, you exhaust all the scenarios around, which means that that area is what they now traditionally call as the red district or high risk area for whatever reasons. It is possible for political reasons, unrest, maybe the area is dilapidated, who knows? But if you do your homework correctly, you will actually understand why the bank is not happy with that area. I would never put my money anywhere where the banks are not interested. The reason is that it is always far much cheaper from an investment perspective to utilize the bank's money rather than your own, because your tenants will be able to repay the debt whilst you are reaping the benefits because your property needs to cash flow. That brings me to statement number 6, or should I say tip number 6. Is the property cash flowing? Is the property cash flowing, right? Why buy an investment property if it's not cash flowing? Are you trying to hide some money? Are you just trying to put some money somewhere else? Investing, the name drives itself. You are investing, so if you are investing, you need to get a yield. You need to get something out of it. What is the return of investing? We are always looking for properties that are cash flowing. So what do I mean by that? Some of us who will be hearing this term for the first time around, and we're asking ourselves, oh, what is cash flowing? Is it giving us profit, right? Is it giving us profit? You put a 1 rand in, and are you getting a 1 rand out? Or are you getting a 50 rand out? So which then basically means that for whatever 1 rand you have put in, you're getting a 50 cents. Or 1 rand to 1 rand is at 100% profit, okay? But a lot of us, we've been having properties where they actually don't cash flow. They don't have property. They don't have profit in it. Hey, believe me, I've been there. I used to live like that before. I used to buy 1 or 2 2 beds, 1 bath in a unit, in a complex of the developer, and I would put in a tenant and I would subsidize the bank. I used to do it. I did it before. But I am no longer that person. I am an investor, right? Now, you could be saying to me, hey, TJ, it's not just about cash flow. I'm also looking for capital growth. What is capital growth? Appreciation on the property. So I am of the view that if I can have appreciation on the property and I can also have cash flow, hey, it is a win-win, right? It is a win-win on both sides of my pockets. But why do I just need to wait for appreciation only for me to make profit to own a property? I'm of the view that I need to live on both sides of the world, right? The scale of that, hey, you decide. It is your money that you're putting onto the table. The other tip that I can say that I would do before actually buying an investment property, right? This tip here is about the actual people that are going to stay in your property. So the actual tenants that are going to stay in your property, the question is the type of a property that you are having. Even though your property manager is happy, even though the bank is happy to give you some money, but the actual property, what kind of tenants are you going to attract, right? What kind of a tenants? Is it tenants that you can have conversation with? Is it tenants that you're even scared to talk to, right? The caliber of them as an individual. Hey, people are people, man. I have had tenants that have serious dogs or serious other animals that they keep in, including snakes, right? And things like that. But the reality of it is that as people, or should I say tenants are we all are at different levels of understanding of education. And the reason why I say this is that your property manager, if, for instance, they are going to be sending statements to your tenants, and your tenants cannot even read statements. So is that the type of a tenant that you're looking for? Or you are very email-driven in your business together with your property manager, but none of your tenants actually have an email address. So how are you going to connect with them then? That's the question. Those are the basic things that I'm looking out for. Is your tenant, or should I say, what is your property, what kind of a tenant are you looking for? Or what kind of a tenant is your property going to attract? Okay, hey TJ, everyone, they are not literacy and all of those things. Well, I can switch it around and say, whatever property that you have, whether it's a unit or whatnot, but the bottom line of it is that somewhere along the line, your tenant should be earning at least, I say at least 3 times more than what the rent should be. That's priority number 1, right? Because if they're not able to pay you rent, which means that they are likely going to squatter at your place. And that becomes another exercise in terms of evictions that we do not want to have. Yeah. The last point, I did say I'm going to give you 7 points, and this is the last one. 7 things you need to know before you buy an investment property. I did speak about it. That is your property cash flowing, or is it appreciating? This is my last point, and I'm going to reinforce it again as a last point. I am happy to have my property giving me cash flow because I need to survive. It's an investment. I am running a business. But over and above that, I've got what I call, or what we call, the balance sheet. On my balance sheet, my cash flow is also good because the bank will see me as a good person, and because if my cash flow is healthy, the bank is going to borrow me more and more money, right? Which means that I can be able to buy more properties. But there's a spin to it as well. Hey, what if my properties are appreciating? Year on year, they're appreciating, let's say 2%, 1%, 5%, who knows, maybe 20%, right? Wherever you are in South Africa, you can double check to see what is the appreciation, right? But let's assume the appreciation is on 5% year on year. So which means that in my second year, I have actually gotten free money from the appreciation. I haven't done anything. I've kept my property for 2 years. And if I have 10 of these properties on my balance sheet, which means that my balance sheet actually has grown by 10%. 10% of 1 million, that's lots of free money. How about 10% of 10 million, 100 million? The game becomes starting to be more exciting. These are the things that I would do with what I now know now, having built a business that has properties across in 4 cities and having a whole lot of student accommodation across the country. These are the things that I would do. I am hoping that you have enjoyed the 7 things you need to know before buying your investment property. It's been great. We'll speak to you again soon. Cheers. Bye.